Before we go any further, make sure you're subscribed to the Prepper Historian and, share this with someone who takes history and survival seriously. What you're about to hear isn't romanticized warfare or campfire folklore. These are cold, documented field practices developed by men who slept on frozen earth night after night, often closer to death from exposure than enemy fire. If you understand these techniques, you understand how real soldiers survived winter warfare. Winter was a silent killer in World War II. On the Eastern Front, in the Ardennes, in the Italian mountains, soldiers learned quickly that bad sleep meant death by exhaustion, frostbite, or sickness. Armies that mastered ground insulation and heat retention outlasted those that didn't. Let's get straight into what they actually did. During the Second World War, field manuals emphasized one brutal truth, and that is the ground kills faster than the wind ever could. You see, frozen soil just pulls body heat away through conduction, draining warmth even if you're bundled up in heavy clothing. Soldiers quickly learned that sleeping directly on snow or bare earth was, a losing battle. Modern campers, they often underestimate this danger, but back in World War II, troops measured survival in hours, not comfort. And honestly, the same physics apply today, whether you're winter camping or, say, preparing for grid-down conditions. Infantry units operating in forested regions would cut pine fir or spruce branches and layer them thickly under their bodies. The trapped air between those needles acted as insulation, lifting the sleeper off the frozen ground and offering a crucial barrier against the cold. A proper bed was knee-high before compression. For modern use, the principle is identical. If you lack a sleeping pad, build depth. Air gaps matter more than material. Even cardboard or dry grass works if layered heavily. In rural Europe, soldiers scavenged barns, not for shelter alone, but for straw. Straw beds insulated better than bare floors and absorb moisture. German and Soviet troops both documented sleeping on thick straw layers during winter campaigns. Applied today, dried plant matter, wood shavings, or shredded paper replicate this effect in emergency shelters. Dryness is critical. Wet insulation becomes a heat sink. During the Second World War, troops would stack packs, ammunition crates, spare clothing, and even helmets under their torsos. Elevating themselves like this, it reduced heat loss dramatically. United States Army winter training manuals, they explicitly instructed soldiers to sleep on their gear rather than beside it. It's a small detail, but it made a huge difference in cold environments. For modern survivalists, this means, really, anything rigid can become a thermal barrier. It's a simple principle that still holds true today. Backpacks, empty containers, and rolled clothing bundles all serve the same role when stacked under your core. Contrary to modern advice about sleeping lightly clothed, World War II soldiers slept in full uniforms during extreme cold. Body heat was conserved by minimizing exposed skin and reducing morning heat loss when waking. Boots were loosened but not removed in combat zones to prevent frostbite and allow rapid movement. So, when we look at how this is applied today, layered sleep clothing really does the trick, provided, of course, that moisture is properly managed. The key thing, honestly, is having dry layers, not just wearing as little as possible. Foxholes and dugouts, often held 2 or more soldiers sleeping back to back or side by side. Now, this wasn't about comfort at all. It was pure survival math. Sharing warmth like that actually reduced how many calories you'd burn overnight. In modern cold-weather survival, this very principle still holds true in group shelters. Keeping folks close together inside a confined shelter can raise the internal temperature quite a bit, which in turn cuts down on the amount of fuel and food you need. Soldiers learned to scrape snow down to the frozen earth before insulating, Snow melts under body heat and then refreezes, soaking bedding. German mountain troops were especially strict about moisture control. Today, this translates into always using a vapor barrier. Plastic sheeting, ponchos, or even trash bags placed under insulation prevent ground moisture from undoing your efforts. Many World War II units slept in shallow depressions with snow or dirt piled windward. Blocking wind reduced convective heat loss dramatically. Even a low wall changed survival odds. For modern application, terrain modification matters. Just a few minutes spent shaping windbreaks around your sleep site can save you hours of shivering later on. Cold burns calories, plain and simple. Back in the Second World War, rations were often eaten right before sleep to help fuel the body's nighttime heat production. Dehydration, by the way, increased the risk of cold injury. Soviet manuals actually stressed having warm liquids before rest, whenever possible. These days, a high-fat snack and proper hydration before bed can seriously improve your thermal regulation. And look, this isn't just comfort advice. It's metabolic reality. These techniques weren't just theory, They were refined under artillery fire, supply shortages, and absolutely lethal temperatures. If you strip away all the modern gear, these methods still work because, physics hasn't changed. Insulate yourself from the ground, manage your moisture, block the wind, fuel your body, and use whatever materials you've got intelligently. If this breakdown gave you something new, go ahead and subscribe to The Prepper Historian, share it with your fellow historians and survivalists, and, keep these lessons alive. History only helps if we remember how to use it.